Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education Truth in Taxation hearing for December 19th, 2019. Mr. Duran, would you act as our Secretary Pro Tem?
Sure.
Great. Could you please take the roll?
I will indeed. Ann Hill, not present. Mark Berry.
Present.
Leanne Charlo. Julie Gottschall, absent. Richard Hegg.
Present.
John Marzin.
Present.
Andy Duran, present.
All right, we have 4. We have enough to start. So we have a quorum. We can begin. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to allow individuals the opportunity to be heard and comment on the proposed 2018 tax levy. And our business officer, Mr. Khan, will take us through some really important information.
So I just want to remind you what the timeline is for the process. In October, we presented the detailed levy. In November, we came back and approved a tentative levy, an estimate of the amounts needed to be levied. And then in December, at least 20 days later, the board tonight will approve the final levy. This is the Truth in Taxation hearing, notice of which was published in the newspaper between 7 and 14 days prior to this meeting. It's required to have a meeting, a Truth in Taxation hearing, if the levy is greater than 105% of the prior extension. The levy tonight will be 102.5% greater than the prior year's extension, but we always have a hearing because it's the most transparent and best practice. The tax levy is based on the needs of the district. So when determining the tax levy, we always start with our long-term projections. In the revenue assumptions in this projection are a 2% CPI and $2.5 million of new property annually. This year's is 1.9% CPI and $3.7 million annually, or $3.7 million of new property. The expenditure assumptions include staffing levels based on enrollment projections, compensation based on our 5-year teacher contract, a maintenance level of capital spending, and other conservative assumptions.
Jay, just a quick question.
Sure.
Built in the assumption, have you made any left any room for the upcoming opportunity to repurpose the bonds?
No, I've not made any, this forecast was done before that news, yes.
So that's potential savings.
Well, and this is also operating funds, so that would be separate. That would be all funds. That's our debt service fund. So the recommendation tonight is to ask for an increase of CPI. The district needs to grow our revenue to keep pace with inflation. This will maintain our fund balance in the desired range of 30 to 50% of operating expenditures based on our fund balance policy. It addresses our facility needs and preserves our PTEL base, or the base according to the property tax extension limitation law. Tonight, we'll also ask you to pass a supplemental levy resolution. We do this every year. It will increase the debt service extension base by CPI. This is done so that the county clerk can extend enough money to pay the debt service, the principal and interest on our non-referendum bonds. And then in January, Tammy from PMA will be here to talk about an opportunity to refund one of our debt issues for potential savings to taxpayers of about $250,000. Just as a reminder, this is what our annual debt service looks like. This is our current scheduled payments. And we had a question last time about the refunding. That will not change the structure of this debt service. It basically just replaces an existing bond with the same payment schedule, just with some lower payments. So it'll look pretty much the same. So the details of the levy are here relative to the prior year. CPI is 1.9%. We're expecting existing property to increase by about 4.5% to $708 million, with new property of $3.7 million coming on the tax rolls this year. This leads to an operating tax extension of $15.7 million. An increase of 1.9% on existing homeowners. We add another about $100,000 for taxes on new property, and that to get us to $15.8 million. And then the debt service extension for the bonds, which is not technically part of the levy, but will be extended on this tax bills of $2.2 million for a total of just over $18 million for next year, and that increase of 2.4% over the prior year.
Just shed a little light on why our tax extension's going up, but the tax rate's going down.
Sure. The tax rate is based on the assessed value, and because our assessed values are going up more by a higher percentage than our taxes are going up, then the rate is just the ratio of the two. So if your taxes go up at the same rate as your property values go up, then your rate stays the same. If your taxes go up by less than your property is going up, then your rate goes down, and the opposite is true. So our tax rate is going down about 2% to 2.546 per $100 of value, a decrease versus last year because of the increase in property values.
Any
Any
questions?
questions?
Any other questions for the board or comments?
Scintillating as usual.
Yeah.
Jay, we appreciate you working so hard on this. The board takes it very seriously, and we appreciate your hard work, and that, people in the community often ask, why do we keep taking the CPI? Because there's often questions about, not taking that much, but people need to know that we look at your projections very seriously for the future, and we don't want to get behind on our fund balance, and need to maintain momentum moving forward to keep up with it. So we appreciate you guys keeping such close watch on all of this.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Any questions from the public on the tax hearing, the proposed tax levy that we'll be voting on in a little while? Not hearing any. May I have a motion to adjourn this tax levy hearing at 6:54?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so our tax levy hearing is adjourned, and we will pick up with our regular meeting at 7 o'clock. So a few more minutes.
Yes, I knew Ian wasn't. I don't know. Ian was supposed to, I thought.
Ready? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education regular meeting for December 19th, 2019. Julie, could you please take the roll?
Sure. Andy Duran.
Present.
Mark Berry.
Present.
Julie Gottschall, present. Richard Haig.
Present.
John Rosen.
Present.
We have a quorum. We can begin. And I would ask that everybody stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first thing we do every night is we ask if we have any public comment. We're going to offer a few different public comments tonight, but if anybody would like public comment on the new superintendent contract, please come to the podium and make a comment. If not, we will begin. And I'm going to take a moment to set the stage. We've rearranged from our traditional agenda, the way we order things. And we're going to hop right to item 6A, which is for the approval of the new superintendent contract. So here's how this is going to play out. First thing I'm going to do is introduce the candidate and provide a little background. Then I'm going to call for a motion, and then prior to voting, I'm going to ask for any discussion and comments by the board. Then we'll vote, and then we'll bring our new superintendent up to the podium to say hello and greet people. Then we'll briefly adjourn for a little more welcoming, and then we'll move on. We'll take a brief adjournment and move on to the rest of our regular meeting and let people clear out who don't want to stay for all the exciting stuff. So it is my distinct pleasure tonight, on behalf of the Lake Bluff Board of Education, to announce that we'll be voting on a contract to approve the employment of a new superintendent of schools effective July 1st, 2019. This is 2020, geez. Sorry. This is one of the few real perks of my role as board president. There aren't that many, but this is a really great one that I get to announce this. So on behalf of the Lake Bluff Board of Education, we would like to announce to all our millions of viewers out there that the next superintendent, provided we approve this contract tonight, will be Dr. Lisa Leali. She has accepted the board's offer to become the next superintendent of Lake Bluff School District 65. Currently, Dr. Leali serves as the Chief Education Officer for Kenilworth School District 38, and previously served as Hawthorne District 73 as Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, as well as in several other administrative and teaching roles. Educationally speaking, Dr. Leali completed her doctoral program in education leadership with a superintendent endorsement and licensure from National Louis University. Prior to obtaining her superintendent licensure, she earned a Master's of Arts in Educational Leadership from Northeastern Illinois University and a Bachelor of Science from Illinois Wesleyan. Dr. Leali's selection is the result of an extensive national search conducted by School Exec Connect that produced over 50 qualified applicants from a diverse geographic and professional backgrounds. A superintendent profile created from the results of a community survey and many focus groups was used as a guide for the interviewing teams to select the best candidate for Lake Bluff. While we had many outstanding candidates to consider, Dr. Leali is clearly the best of the best and a perfect match to all the criteria described in the superintendent profile. With that in mind, the board wants to express its appreciation and gratitude for the help it received from the interviewing teams, which consisted of board members, administrators, staff, and community members. Hiring a superintendent is one of the most important jobs of the Board of Education, and partnering with our community was crucial to the process, so thank you so much for all the work you guys put into it. For those interested, please note that the complete contract for Dr. Leali is available in the board packet for tonight and on the district website. Also know that this is a competitive contract commensurate with the responsibilities and expectations of the Lake Bluff Board of Education, as well as the Lake Bluff community. So, with no further delay, I'm extremely pleased and honored on behalf of the Lake Bluff Board of Education administration and staff to welcome Dr. Lisa Leali to the Lake Bluff Schools. And now it's time to vote. May I have a motion to approve the 3-year contract for Dr. Lisa Leali as superintendent of Lake Bluff District 65 schools effective July 1st, 2020?
So moved. Oh,
Strongly second.
I get to do it first.
Roll call vote, please. Oh, wait. Would anybody like to make a comment before we vote? Any discussion?
Oh, well, Since you're asking, I'll go first. And say, yeah, Lisa, we welcome you very much to the district. I will tell you that this process is one, obviously, we've been anticipating, and with a little bit of trepidation, because, of course, we love Dr. Sophie, and she's done such a fabulous job, and we hate to see her go, but at the same time, if anything could make the transition seem easy and one to look forward to, it's the fact that we have such a tremendous candidate who will replace her. So we very much look forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I agree. I think we found a perfect candidate, perfect fit for Lake Bluff, and I'm really excited about the future of all the kids in this district and our schools. And while we're all nervous about Dr. Sophie leaving, I think having gone through this process now and knowing what's coming, I feel really comfortable. So, yeah, thank you.
I will second what those two have said and maybe what Rich has said as well. And I represent not only the board and the residents, but the residents who no longer have kids in school. And we're just as excited about having a superintendent that's going to carry forward some of the work that Jean's done and hopefully end up with Lake Bluff schools being some of the top schools in the state. So welcome aboard.
No pressure.
I'll say that Jean Sophie has done such a wonderful job during her tenure here. We've been very fortunate. She's worked very hard. She's put us on a path that is really extraordinary, and when we looked for somebody to not only be on that path, but to extend it and increase it, we're very happy that we found you, Lisa, and we look forward to working with you and very excited about introducing you to our community. It's a very close community. They will all want to meet you, and it'll be fun.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Mark Berry.
Absolutely, yes.
Andy Duran.
Absolutely, yes.
Richard Haig.
Overwhelmingly, yes.
Julie Gotcha, I'm going with yes. All right. John Rosen.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion's approved. Welcome to our community.
Thank you very much. I would also like to echo the thanks to the interview panels, the Board of Education, the administrative team, the teachers, everyone for their support and encouragement throughout this process. I'm thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to lead in such an outstanding district. I only hope, and that will be my goal, to build on the great work that Dr. Sophie's been doing with the staff and with the community. I'm so excited to get to know everyone, to get to work with everyone and collaborate together on behalf of your children. I'm very excited to introduce my family to the community as well. My son, Ryan Sorali, my daughter, Gianna, and my daughter, Ava, in the back, and my good friend, Dr. Karen Maturo, and colleague of over 20 years. About 10 years ago, we wrote a dissertation together on Joyful Classrooms, and I'm just so honored and feel so grateful to have the opportunity to bring that work to Lake Bluff and just continue on the path that has been set. So thank you so much. Don't go anywhere.
Lake Bluff swag to welcome to the district.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much.
some flowers to,
Oh, my
to
goodness.
adorn your.
I'll carry this back for you.
Thank you so much. Oh, I think we have something
I
important
will,
to do
yes.
here.
I would like to sign that.
Nope. Is there another copy behind?
Yep.
Okay.
Two.
Oh. Okay. It's official.
Thank you so much.
Shelley did so much work, and so appreciative of it.
Looking forward to a lot of things. I got to tell you that one of my very great best friends.
So we're adjourned for about 10 minutes. We'll resume the meeting in a moment.
So we've got a
Now, returning to our regularly scheduled programming, we are going to go to recognition, item 8. And I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Sophie for item 8A, board member recognition and principal recognition.
Well, I would tell you that October is a big month to honor principals and administrators. We missed that because we were all busy with the superintendent search. November is a huge month to honor all of our board members. We missed it because of the superintendent search. So now we have to go back and recognize. So we've got our board members. We want to thank you for all your service. We all know how hard you've worked all the time, but in the past couple months, it's been a lot of hours reaping great benefits. So we have a little something for you. We don't wear it this year.
I get a lot of miles out of my sweatshirt from last year.
I like that sweatshirt. That's a nice one.
My, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diamond. Thank you.
It's round,
Mug we got.
cylindrical.
It's a tumbler.
Perfect.
Summer's
Yeah, this is a great idea.
Very nice, thank you.
Now, I want to tell one short story because this will make Jay happy.
Got them on sale.
Yeti thermals are very, very expensive, and unfortunately, their shipping was not on time. And Shelley, in the midst of all the superintendent search, called and was not too happy with them, so we got them at 50% off, Jay, just so you know.
Hey, going Shelley.
For all you do, I've certainly appreciated working with all of you, but we still have 6 months and there's still a ton to do, so. The next group I want to appreciate is our admin team. Relentless hours, lots of work. There's not a night that goes by that one of us isn't losing sleep thinking about how we're going to help kids. I appreciate them more than they all know. And so instead of principal appreciation, we're honoring all of our administrators tonight.
Nice.
They're going to recognize the gifts because they're getting the same thing. Thank you all.
Were those on discount too?
All of them. 50% off.
And thank you guys for all your help with the superintendent search as well. It's gonna go great, but we appreciate all your work. All right, we don't have any reports, am I right in reading?
You are
that?
correct.
0 reports, so we're gonna skip reports. We're gonna go to discussion. Item 10, Stone Bridge Building Project. I saw my name and Leanne's name underneath that. I've got a couple things I could talk about. The Stonebridge development is resurfacing again in the community, the issues with the development. And it is the board's feeling that, or Gina, my feeling, and Leanne's feeling, and I agree that we should have board representation on anything that goes on with Stonebridge, or at least awareness of what goes on with Stonebridge, because if it finally leads to development and families move in and kids move in, that impacts our schools. So we need to stay on top of it, stay connected with the community. And there are 2 dates out there that we need to have representation at probably. It's my understanding that on Saturday, January 18th at 10:30 a.m., there is a casual coffee with Drew Irvin to get an update, give an update to the community on what's going on at Stonebridge. Apparently they have applied for demolition of the Manor House. And then on Thursday, January.
I thought that was just voted down. I saw a notice today on the village website that there was a discussion regarding voting that down.
Oh, I saw this.
I believe I saw a notice that that was going to be a presentation or a vote on January 30th.
That was my next
Right,
comment.
which is why they're having the coffee
But it
first.
gets looked at in different levels, so the Historic Preservation Committee and then so
Yeah.
somebody may have voted no, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was my next date. Thursday, January 30th, the Lake Bluff Historic Preservation Commission is going to do a review of that demolition application. And it's important that There's district representation there, just to listen. I don't know if we need to be saying anything at this point, but we need to stay on top of what's going on. Years ago, when Gene and I met with Peter Kite, who heads that development, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was talk on a prior version of this. I guess it's all gonna change, but wasn't there like in the neighborhood of estimates of 50-plus kids?
It was up to 55 originally. There's a lot of talk that whole plan may change now. And I think it's really important from this point forward that we stay on top of it, we attend meetings, because I felt the last time when I was just coming in the district, there were a lot of things, sign here, we're gonna do this, and we're an active part of the community, and obviously we support Lake Bluff and whatever endeavors they have, but we also have to be at the table because it could have an impact on our schools.
Well, and just to highlight the impact that I would be concerned is, we could absorb a certain number of students into our district and would want to know about that happening and be able to plan for it. But at some point, depending on the size of the development there and how many homes they place, there's a potential that there would be a number of students that would be beyond what we could house in our buildings.
You are
And
correct.
my concern is just to, be present and aware so that we're providing that information as the planning goes along and it's not a surprise to anyone later on, because that would be a substantial impact on people's taxes if that
You
were
are
necessary.
correct.
And it's good for us to be involved in the conversation surrounding impact fees due to that. So we need to have our voices heard. So with that in mind, I was hoping somebody might be willing to volunteer to be the liaison to this whole Stonebridge issue and help us at least initially keep an eye on what's going on
Bless
at
you.
these meetings.
I'll volunteer to do it.
Oh, John, awesome. Thank you. All right, so there's a meeting on the 18th of January and then the 30th of January.
I may join you for the 18th.
Just send me a note on the dates.
I will.
Great, appreciate that. All right, action items. Item 11A is a consideration of a resolution authorizing a supplemental property tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the district. Jay started out our approval on this last year, and it is tied to the levy. He will provide an explanation about the supplemental property tax levy and the bond payment. Yeah, sure. Whatever you want.
This, I briefly mentioned during the tax levy hearing. This is an annual thing that we need to do so that we can increase our debt service extension base by the CPI. That is the amount of money that is required to pay the principal and interest on the bonds that were issued, the non-referendum bonds that were issued for the middle school. So without passing this resolution, the debt service extension base stays where it is, and they can't levy the full amount or extend the full amount to pay the bonds. And it's a very small impact. It's a couple $1,000s over the entire tax base annually.
We've been doing this
This is
for a long time now. Any questions for Mr. Khan? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a supplemental property tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of the district as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Leanne Charlo.
Yes.
Julie Godshall, yes. Richard Haig.
Yes.
Andy Duran.
Yes.
Mark Barry.
Yes.
John Rosen.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Item 11B, board policy, second read and final approval for policy 8:20, community use of school facilities. The board is asked to vote and give its final approval on this policy. Does the policy committee have any comment on this policy? Is anybody in? Oh, sorry.
I'd make a quick comment. I think that the policy committee had an extensive discussion on this at the last policy committee meeting. It's important for us as a policy committee to not only acknowledge the neighbor concerns, but look at the big picture of the school district within the village, possible uses that could come up. And I think that the rewording that the policy, especially Julie and Leanne, really made the policy a little bit more concise and usable, and I think it's a great version. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else have comments or questions? May I have a motion to approve board policy 8:20, community use of school facilities for second read and final approval?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
Andy Duran?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 11C. Item 11C is the approval of a superintendent contract. It looks a little weird.
It's 1520 amendment.
Is that the date? When is that?
That was the contract, it was for 1520.
Oh, 15 to 20, okay, amendment. The approval of superintendent contract 1520 amendment. Jay discovered there was an error in Jean's employment contract amendment, which omitted the $300 wellness credit given to all administrators. So Jay worked with the attorneys to ratify the amendment, and if you could just elaborate on that a little bit. I believe that's already been taken care of, right?
Yeah, we've actually been paying this benefit because it was in prior superintendent contracts for Jean, and it was in all of our administrator contracts. And I didn't notice that it wasn't in her current contract until reviewing contracts during the whole superintendent search. So we worked with our attorneys to put it back in the contract as a justification for all the payments that have been made to date.
Just to make it clear.
So if it's been paid and the contract is coming to an end, you're telling me it needs to be in there to justify the payments made?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
TRS matches up the payments with my contract when I
So we just
retire.
want the board to have approved the payments that we made because they were salary or benefit reimbursement payments that were only, that are approved by contract. So it wasn't in the contract. So in order to make the payments valid, we had to go back and amend the contract or take the payments back.
Oh, well, we wouldn't want to do that, certainly, but I didn't understand the reason for amending the contract. I didn't think it was clear that the payments had already been made by the amendment. Maybe it doesn't matter, but now I understand why you're doing it, at least.
It's a
which I
benefit
didn't.
that we have been assuming was in place because it had been in place in prior contracts, and it's in place in all of our other contracts. So we didn't know, even the attorneys didn't notice that they omitted it when they redid her contract from 15 to 20. So we're just going back to clear up that error of omission, clerical error.
I don't have a problem with doing it. It just seems to me an odd vehicle to go back and paper over something that's already happened. My thought would be, okay, we're done here, but, let it go. But I hear what you're saying, that
Wanna be
it has to
above board and-
match up. Okay.
And show that we have the board approval and the justification to make these payments.
And isn't it an issue if you had payments, like when we get audited, don't they look for things like that, or to make sure that you didn't pay things you weren't supposed to?
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
taxpayer money, so we
Yeah.
just want to,
Right.
we're
mean,
not allowed to pay things.
It's
unless
also an issue before I start collecting retirement, they match my contract with my paychecks. And so those two have to match, and that would probably have red flagged it as well. I didn't know about it either till Jay came to me.
Well, and I remember talking about it, that it was supposed to be in there, so.
Any other? Anybody? Okay. May I have a motion to approve an amendment to the 2015-2020 superintendent contract for Dr. Jean Sophie?
So moved?
Second?
Roll call vote, please.
Richard Haig?
Yes.
Andy Duran?
Yes.
Mark Berry?
Yes.
John Rosen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes.
Motion is approved. Item 11D, the certification of the tax levy. The final levy approval is brought to you this evening for approval. Jay did a presentation earlier. Do we have any additional questions for Mr. Khan?
Can we go over it one more time, Jay?
In a little more detail.
You might want to do that
We
after the
have
meeting,
Julie come in a
Julie.
little later next week.
All right, I guess not. May I have a motion to approve the certification of the tax levy as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please.
Andy Duran?
Yes.
Mark Berry? John Rosen? Leanne Charlotte?
Yes.
Julie Gottschall? Yes. Richard Haig?
Yes.
The motion is approved. Item E, personnel report. Oh, we don't have a personnel report. Correct?
Correct?
Item F, the consent agenda. There's a lot to read here, so bear with me. This month's consent agenda includes open session meeting minutes for November 12, 2019, the regular Board of Ed meeting, closed session meeting minutes for November 12, 2019, the regular Board of Ed meeting, November 15th, 2019, the special Board of Ed meeting, November 16th, 2019, the special Board of Ed meeting, December 2nd, 2019, special Board of Ed meeting, December 3rd, 2019, special Board of Ed meeting, December 4th, 2019, special Board of Ed meeting, December 7th, 2019, special Board of Ed meeting, and December 10th, 2019, special Board of Ed meeting. It also includes the treasurer's report, the IMPRES report, The bills report, and the bills report includes something I'm supposed to read out, specifically board member expenses that were incurred for the III conference, which is the Illinois Association of School Board Conference that board members attend every year in November in Chicago, totaling $2,199.40. It also includes the P-card report in the consent agenda as well. Would anybody like any of that pulled out of the consent agenda for discussion outside of the consent vote?
No.
Okay, not hearing any. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for December 10th, 2019 as presented?
So moved.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Mark Barry,
Yes.
John Rosen.
Yes.
Leanne Charlo.
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, yes. Richard Haag.
Yes.
Andy Duran.
Yes.
Motion is approved. That's it for action. We did not have any FOIA requests. Do we have any other public comment for the evening? Any board member comment? May I have a motion to adjourn at 7:32?
So moved.
That was quick.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think she's.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thing.